Hey guys, Ark here, bringing to you Chapter 2, Episode 9 of my Learning Night Elf series. It's been a while since we've done one of these, first of all, I'll apologize for how long it's been. Second of all, it's going to be an elf mirror. This has been one that people have asked for a while. Specifically, it's elf mirror of Demon Hunter versus POTM mass hunts, which is something that I guess I particularly try to practice against because it's something I'm very weak against. But yeah, we'll get into that more. So again, apologize, but hopefully I'll be getting some more of these uploaded as well as some gameplay analysis and stuff like that. Making use of the time that we're all stuck at home. So yeah, I guess quick thing. So Saturday, tomorrow actually, I will be playing in Dust League Group D. In my group is it was Pride, Danger, and OC. But Pride got replaced with Boo. So my first round is against Danger, and then after that I will be against either OC or Boo, depending on whether I win or lose and whether they win or lose. So with that said, you guys can check it out on the Back to Warcraft channel, but we'll just jump into this. So this is a replay from Remind and Alice. So Remind is the Demon Hunter player on the left. Alice is going to be the POTM Hunts player on the right. This is from the recent WGL summer qualifiers, the open bracket. Open bracket is basically the top 64, I want to say, maybe top 100 or something. So some amount of top places in the Netties ladder go into the open bracket, and then like the top 16, I think it is, got into the pro ladder. And so you have to be a very good player to get into either one of these. So don't be fooled by the open bracket aspect of it. And of course, Remind is a well-known player. Alice, maybe some of you might not be too familiar with Alice. Doesn't necessarily have the name recognition, but also a very good Night Elf player as well. So with that said, we are on Echo Isles. Alice, the POTM Hunts player, did go for the Wisp pull to cancel this AOW. This is something that really kind of is challenging for me to deal with. Like in some camps, you can't place the AOW far enough away that to actually keep it alive. So this is definitely one of the creep camps where you can't place it far enough away to not make it cancelable from this Wisp pull. So we're just going to watch. I'm going to unpause it. So Remind is just going to basically cancel it right away, so he gets max resources for that cancel. One thing that some people might not know that is if you cancel a building that's already lost some percentage of its health, you lose out on more resources. So if you're going to it's really good for him to make that decision ASAP, because resource-wise, I mean, he didn't get hurt that much. Had he waited until it was like down to 1 HP before canceling it, he would have lost a lot of resources and he wouldn't have been able to rebuild this as fast. So he's just going to right away go back to AOW creeping. And one thing in my mind is thinking, in my head I'm thinking, wow, he's going to be super far behind because he's not going to have AOW creeping, and he's going to be behind on archers, which means that these hunts are going to come out so fast that he's not really going to be able to deal with them. Something that I think is a really good thing if the opportunity arises for the elf player. So Remind is going to scout. He's going to see the POTM Hunts. So right here he knows that it's POTM Hunts, straight hunts, and we can just see his response. We'll see his resources actually. So he's got the resources, and then his response to that is just building an AOW in his base. One of the things that this does is, first of all, you're gonna see actually the build order that Alice did. I didn't notice it the first time I watched the replay, but he went for the Moonwell before the second AOW, which essentially means that he was planning on just doing the one AOW Hunts build, which plays quite a bit differently. But what this is essentially doing is it's going to be delaying the initial hunts out quite a bit. That's going to make this doable. Another thing that it does is it basically forces the POTM to stay on this side of the map and really deal with this aggression. In some cases, I know on this channel I believe I've said before where I'm not a big fan of this, but I think against hunt builds, when the opportunity arises, I think it's very good to stall out the timing of his potential pushes and everything, which gives you ample time to decide which way you want to go with it at tier 2. We're going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit. He is Demon Hunter harassing. I think if this AOW was not canceled, he would have most likely not Demon Hunter harassed, but ultimately he is going to go for it. You know what? Actually, he might have done it anyways just because of canceling the Moonwell. But we do see the second AOW, and Remind does see it as well. So he knows he's up against a 2 AOW hunt build. And one thing that we are seeing in his base, it's being blocked in. So if we look, we're kind of building like a long backwards L, or was basically like a right angle here. You can see it's starting to be closed off. This Moonwell here will be eventually closing this off, and this is forcing hunts to come in through this way, which is a very tight corridor for hunts and allows your archers to be relatively safe. Demon Hunter is actually going to TPing out, so he's doing quite a bit of damage with this one AOW, and the hunts are going to be coming out now, so he's going to be able to deal with it, but it's done a lot of work. It's delayed quite a bit. He's got 2 archers. He's going to be able to AOW creep this relatively safely, which also means he's going to be able to get mercs, which actually you see the archer there positioned. So he pulls the creeps, and yeah, mercs are bought, which is very strong to defend against hunts. This berserker is basically like 2.5 archers. Priest is basically an archer, a little bit more than an archer. So yeah, he's doing pretty good right now. He's getting the units he needs to defend. He's going to throw down a Hunter's Hall to help block off his base. Base is looking really nice, and because of this AOW in here, hunts are stuck at home. So buying him a lot of time, and he's going to, basically his main focus here is to get level 3. So whenever you're playing up against hunts, Demon Hunter versus POTM hunts, maybe even Keeper as well, but level 3 is basically a pretty large power spike like for the Demon Hunter in general. But that level 2 mana burn is just so effective, and that's really what his main priority is right now. So he's going to be creeping to creep in this camp, get a big item, and potentially level 3 on your Demon Hunter, which is just going to make his defense of a very likely AP push coming that much stronger. Now I say a very likely AP push. So the things that stick out in my head for what I'm recognizing is, one, we saw the AOW down below here. So Remind recognized the fact that it was a 1 AOW hunts build, which generally is going to be playing into some type of tier 2 play and a fast expansion of some sort. Alice changed his mind when that AOW was built in his base. So if I was Remind, I would personally be expecting a AP push, just because I ruined Alice's plan of fast expoing and teching to Dryads or some other unit, and so he's kind of playing a little bit off the cuff, and generally when I think of that, I'm imagining someone doing a little bit of I guess cheesier style, which I consider Hunt's AP relatively cheesy, but anyways, in the main base he is going to go for lures, and he's just going to be teching quickly. So he built 1 wisp. We'll just do it real quick. So he used 3 wisps right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he had 10 wisps total, and you generally tech with 9, so that was 1 extra wisp, and then he teched as soon as he can. One big thing that we're seeing out of this also is that he's going for a solo hero. So generally, also keep in mind that a lot of stuff that we're going through is not like hard facts or anything. There's a lot of wiggle room. There's a lot of different ways you can play it. This is just one aspect of that Remind chose to play in this game. But one thing I often do is I always get a second hero. Like I almost never will just stay on a solo Demon Hunter. It makes a lot of sense in this game, because in general as well, not getting that second hero. I mean, the second hero, honestly, I feel like it's always so ineffective, but I still always got it. But I always felt it's so ineffective. And another thing that it does is it heavily delays your tech, because you're investing a huge amount of golden resource or golden wood into that capability for that second hero, that you could have just teched faster and gotten up to bears quicker. So he placed his 2 lures so they can get some dryads out pretty quickly, but he's also teching fast so that he can transition into bears really quickly. And bears are really helpful, particularly for regen or rejuvenation. One of the biggest things that is challenging for Elf as the Demon Hunter player is really your moon juice, because you run out of that moon juice, and that's pretty much that's generally how hunts wins out in the end, is that they force the elf to burn through all their moon juice, and they don't really have effective healing to defend a rush. So right here is the next big thing. So the AOW from here came back to the base for Remind. So he went 2 archers, berserker, and a priest. pretty good amount of piercing damage. I mean, that'd be essentially the equivalent of probably 5 to 6 archers. And the other thing, and so once he got that, he didn't really need any more. So he's just gonna bring his AOW back to base to help deter any pushes coming. The other thing is that Remind still has it in his head that he's going to be AP rushed, or at the very least that he's going some type of heavy Huntress, potentially even a hit and run type of play, and that's essentially the idea behind this AP going down. So he knows that if there's a rush coming, this AP is going to help mitigate the effectiveness of that push as he techs up into the bears. Generally, when you do this daytime AP rush from the POTM Hunts player, you're going to be adding glaives at some point, which we do, and you might also come to the conclusion in this game that Alice could certainly have played this better. But some things to always just consider is what are the good plays that the Demon Hunter player is doing that forces, I guess, more non-standard play from the POTM Hunts player. So always something to consider. Even if potentially one of the players could have played a lot better, there's still things that you could potentially learn from it. So at this point, it seems clear to me we don't have an expansion from the POTM Hunts player, so he's going to go most likely for a daytime AP rush. To me, that's what I'm seeing. You don't necessarily have to go for that style, and this is a pretty good surround if he gets it. I think he does. You don't necessarily have to go to that style as the POTM Hunts player, but just given that there's no expansion coming down, no tier 2, doesn't seem like there's going to be an expo play, so it's just really heavy tier 1 Huntresses into some type of rushy type strategy. And he does get the surround. Staff comes out. Meanwhile, he's just camping his base. He knows that he's got level 3, so that's really the big power spike he's looking for. And he's got it, so he's really just trying to stall out, scout around the map, figure things out. And now he's starting to get aggressive, moving out on the map. He has the Dryads, so he's a little bit safer. And he's just going to continue creeping up. So he knows that from what he thinks, there's no expansion, and he's correct. So he's comfortable just waiting for his tech advantage to come out and creep up the map. So we're going to speed up a little bit longer, or a little bit more through it. We're just going to see the Hunt player keep creeping. And we do see glaives, so that for sure is the indication that he is going to go for an AP rush, or attempt to go for an AP rush. And I want to point out a couple things. So we're tier 3, excuse me. We have Master Form coming, so this is really quick. The rush itself is coming about as late as it could possibly come. So you almost want to question whether you even should AP this, or whether it's better just to keep continuing to creep the map. I think it probably would have been better just to continue to creep the map, but at the very least we can still see the positives from Remind. So he did buy a staff. He is going to move out on the map. This orb does so much damage, so it's not to be underestimated just how much damage that orb did. And one thing I want to call out as well, Wellspring, increase the amount of mana that can be stored in Moonwells by 125 and the rate of mana regeneration by 52%. I feel a little silly saying this, but one thing I actually never really realized was that, so I always upgraded this during the night because my assumption was that when you increase the mana, I wasn't thinking it would increase percentagely. Like I thought it was just going to be a straight the base would increase by 125, but it's actually a percentage increase. So if you had 273 out of 300, this Moonwell would go to, like, let's say 400 out of 425, something like that. Or full Moonwell is going to go to 425 out of 425. I always thought it was just going to be 300 out of 425. So this upgrade is one of the best upgrades to get immediately as you get to tier 3 when you're going to be defending against some type of play like this. So always keep that in mind. But we do see the rush coming. He sees the wisp, so he knows what's coming. Burns the protection scroll, and he's just going to back on out here. He knows that the rush is coming. The Hunt player already invested a lot into it, so he's going to back off to his AP and just continue healing up. So really, it's about lasting in this fight. He's got Orb of Venom, which deals a tremendous amount of damage to any unit in general, but specifically tier 1 units. If you can get that AoE or not AoE, but that tick damage onto them, there's really difficult healing. Or it's really difficult for the Hunt player to heal. So we're just taking this fight very slowly. Good heal scroll, got a lot of value on it, and a lot of really low bears. So again, fighting against hunts is all about attrition. You want to drag the fight out as long as possible without losing really a ton of units. And so he's making really good use of his bear's mana and backing off, healing, and then trying to re-engage. You don't necessarily just want to fight straight up and then let him kill units. You just really got to save all those units and then heal back up and then fight him again. That's going to be how you can make use of your advantages of tier 3 with Orb of Venom and everything like that. So Demon Hunter about to fall again, but he's got that Invul Potion, really effective. And he's just getting really good value out of his units here. So this fight is going heavily in the favor of the lore player. Levels are going almost level 5 Demon Hunter, so he's getting a huge amount of value. That's tier 3. The tier 3 experience bonus is like 30%. So he's getting a huge amount of experience off of this. And the AP is doing work as well. So, I mean, it's pretty clear right here. The Demon Hunter player has won out. So I'm going to pause it here. Some of the things I guess I want to reiterate. What went right for him? One, we had this really unfortunate AOW cancel, which kind of sucked. But what he did, he scouted that he had an opportunity to put an AOW in the main base of the elf player, really delay his hunt tech, really delay units coming out, which would essentially mitigate the lost time here. So he just waited until nighttime came, waited for the Berserker Priest to spawn in the Merc camp, then crept it, got his 2 Mercs, had his 2 archers, so he basically has the 5 to 6 archers, relocated that AOW. So this is very important because this is going to be able to, in this case it wasn't used, but in some cases it's really nice to be able to back off to that AOW and let it start whacking units as they run by, especially providing extra protection to that AP. So just his early game decision making I thought was really nice. Some of the other things, he crept 3 and played super defensive while scouting with his Demon Hunter. So he didn't want to go overboard with creeping, didn't want to take creep camps that he could have potentially been jacked at and really lost a lot. Once he got his key level, he then was just prioritizing scouting and checking up what's happening on the map. That really allowed him to feel confident about what Alice was doing and allowed him to just put the resources into that AP and kind of tech up a little bit freely because he knew he could defend early hunt plays with this. Some other things that that AOW actually did is it really delays the nighttime AP push. So if they went straight to AOWs, this harassment right here really delays when that elf player is going to be able to come and place his APs, which is going to give you a little bit more time. Because normally like the 4 o'clock or so AP rush at night comes right before your tier 2 units are really coming out. And so what Remind's delay would have allowed him to have tier 2 units out and help defending against that. So the other thing I want to call out is he maintained his quick tech by skipping a second hero. This is allowing the Demon Hunter to get a lot of experience, level up quickly, and really take advantage of the POTM's low level. The next thing is really at tier 3. So he kept up good scouting, started creeping when he felt a little bit more comfortable. And then at tier 3, he upgrades the Moonwell upgrade, which gives him a lot more resources in his Moonwells. And he just started getting bears. And those bears allow you to really drag out the fight. So whenever you're playing against POTM hunts, always think drag out the fights, keep your units alive, and then heal up and then re-engage. Because their healing is going to be so much worse because they don't have rejuve and they're away from their Moonwells. And you have Orb of Venom, which does tick damage over time. So as long as their APs aren't up, really pressuring your base, you're pretty much okay. So with that said, I'm going to call it quits on this episode. Expect more on POTM hunts. It's kind of a focus on myself. So if you have specific questions about it, I can cover them in future episodes. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Take care now. Bye.